What's up guys, this week one of the mods I've been waiting for finally came out, which allows me to make the ultimate solar build I've been looking forward to making. And when I first was making this build, it was for bottom tree warlock, which is really good, but I knew I could swap over to Titan and do a similar thing, and when I did, it pains me to say it, but it was way better and it is absolutely insane. Both of these builds just turn you into a walking nuclear bomb, and the Titan 1 snowballs so hard you can literally crash your game because of how many explosions and things are going on. So in this video we're going to be quickly breaking down that new mod that allows this build to work, then going over the build for both Warlock and Titan. So what mod am I talking about? Well, from the Wayfinder's Compass this week you can get this one right here, Well of Ordnance. Picking up a solar elemental well grants you additional grenade energy. Multiple copies of this mod increase this effect. So with 100 discipline tier 10, if we look at how that works, first without any of them on, so just picking up a solar elemental well, see how much energy we get. We're gonna get a decent chunk just right off the bat. It's gonna be roughly maybe 20%. Then with one copy of the mod on, we're gonna get maybe like 5% more, so 25%. Then with times 2, we're gonna get, you know, maybe 30%. So it's not scaling too crazy. Then with 3, you know, maybe like 35%. And finally, with 4 copies of the mod, I would say roughly 40%. So a decent amount of extra energy from that mod. And now looking at the build first with Bottom Tree Dawnblade on Warlock. If you don't know what the buff to this was, just think Sunshot, but for all of your abilities, but even better the way it can spread. And with this build, the weapons of choice will be a Blinding GL or really any special kinetic weapon you want. Then we have the Sunshot. You can also do both these builds with Vex Mythoclast, but Sunshot will be better for the overall explosiveness. Then in our power slot, we're going to have a linear fusion rifle. I think it's very important to have a solar one, and the only one is the Corsair's Wrath, which you can get using the lure from the hunts. And going over all the mods we'll be using, first we have Elemental Ordnance. That way when we throw a grenade, we'll create a solar elemental well. Then we have 2 copies of Innervation, which will give us grenade energy when we pick up an Orb of Power. Then our next mod of choice will be right here, Explosive Well Maker, which will mean whenever we throw our grenade, we will get 2 solar elemental wells. Sunshot will also be able to proc this mod. Then of course we have particle deconstruction for our linear fusion rifle to give us a 40% debuff. Then on our gloves we have elemental armaments, which will allow our Sunshot, then also our linear fusion to create solar elemental wells. So 3 different ways to create elemental wells. We have 2 grenade kickstarts to give us roughly 25-30% of our grenade back right when we throw it. Then on our helmet, when we pick up an elemental well, we have 1 elemental ordnance mod, which will give us that extra 5, maybe 10% of our grenade per well. Then we have 2 stacks of Ashes assets to help get our super extremely quickly with all the grenade kills. And the final mod will have Phantom Might, which will be a 25% buff to our solar weapons, and this will stack with other buffs in the game. And on Warlock, there's going to be 3 exotic armor pieces you can use. The first one being Verity's Brow. This one will give you up to double damage for your grenade with ×5. All you have to do is get kills with sword weapons, so your Sunshot. And it will also give you your grenade even quicker. Then when you throw a grenade, you'll give your teammates a buff called Fail the Flames, which will help them get their grenades extremely fast too. You can also use the Mantle of Battle Harmony, which will help you get your super even quicker. Then you can just use your super right off the bat, or you can hang on to it and it'll give you another buff to your sword weapon damage, which will stack with Phantom Might. And no matter which one you're using, the Battle Harmony or Verity's Brow, once you have your super and you want to use it, swap over to Dawn Chorus, which will make your super do way more damage to single targets and make it overall one of the best sustained DPS supers in the entire game. It is that good. So we look at how this build works. The main point of it is you throw a grenade, which will instantly spawn into solar elemental wells, and sometimes even 3. And what you do is you just pick up the 2 solar elemental wells, and that alone will give you enough grenade energy back to have your next grenade, because you're going to get roughly 25% from the grenade kickstarts, then another 30% per solar elemental well. And I found if you pick both up back to back very quickly, there seems to be like a cooldown on one of the region buffs. So if you kind of space them out by like just a second, you'll get the full energy per elemental well. And when you do that, you already have your next grenade. So one grenade feeds into the next one extremely easy with this build. Then you pair that with Verity's Brow, it's like guaranteed every nade will give you another grenade, and every single time you throw one, they're pretty much just Sunshot in grenade form, so you're gonna be creating chain explosions all over the place. And then when you pick up the wells, you also give your Sunshot a 25% buff, which means even more chain explosions. Then finally you have your solar linear fusion rifle for boss DPS. Then you'll be getting your super extremely quickly with all the grenade kills and Ashes assets, and this super alone is really good for Actor with how long it lasts and also the chain explosions with it. Then you can also pair that with Dawn Chorus to make it really good for single targets. So that build overall is extremely good, but the Titan one is just in a different league. So using the exact same weapons, exact same armor setup, our exotic of choice this time will be the Path of Burning Steps, which will make Solar Final Blows give you a damage buff to your weapons that will stack up to ×4, and at ×4 it'll be a 35% buff on par with Weapons of Light. So more or less, this will just give you Weapons of Light at all times, which will stack with Font of Might, which is a 25% buff. Then with the built-in perks on Bomb Tree Solar, the first one, Solar ability kills will restore your health, grenade and melee abilities and some warrior kills will leave a sunspot in their wake. Then when we pass through a sunspot, we will get increased grenade and melee ability recharge rate, and it will increase the damage your weapons deal, but that will not stack with Firewalker on our exotic boots. However, it will allow Sunshot to create sunspots. So now, just like the Warlock build, we throw our grenade, which will create 2 Solar Elemental Wells, and picking those both up one after another will pretty much give us our next grenade. But now we will also be walking through sunspots, which will even further make it easier to get our grenade and our melee back extremely quick. And while we're doing this, we will get Firewalker ×4, which will be a 35% buff for all of our weapons. Then we'll be picking up the Elemental Wells and getting Font of Might, which is another 25% buff that is stacking. So all in all, on our Sunshot alone, we're giving ourselves a 68.75% buff to weapon damage, which means I can pretty much just shoot at the ground and the explosive damage of the shot alone will be enough to one-hit them. So you don't even have to aim, you just kind of just fire randomly, and next thing you know, everything's just exploding left and right. And this build snowballs so hard because the sunspots themselves can create even more solar elemental wells with explosive well maker. So with this build, there are just solar wells everywhere. Every single time you pick them up, you'll get roughly like 30% of your grenade. And next thing you know, you'll just be throwing 40 thermites all over the place and just one-shotting things across the map with Sunshot. Then when you get up to the boss, you're giving yourself that same 68.75% buff to your solar linear fusion rifle, but also the 40% debuff from particle deconstruction. So completely by yourself, you almost already have the full DPS combo. And with that going on, I can pretty much one-shot champions, for example, overloads, without even stunning them. Then unstoppable champions, I 4-shot them without even stopping them. It is pretty crazy. It's really hard to explain just how good this build is. You're pretty much just a walking nuke that's just primed to detonate on every single enemy in the entire game. It is so good. I think the biggest compliment I can give it is I think I'm honestly the main Titan with this build this season for just playing in general. It is that fun and that good. This overall build and mod setup is also the best build on Titan for Vex Mythoclast, and it works extremely well too. So it is just insane. And the last time I swapped over Titan to main a build was in Season of the Warmind with the artifact mod that allowed arc abilities to create Warmind cells, and I used that with Striker, and that was pretty much the last time I got off Warlock to main a build. And that's how I feel about this one. It just snowballs so hard that you can even crash your game because of how many explosions are happening and how much is going on. Anyways, I think that's be it for the video. Rest of the video will just be some Strike gameplay. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.